Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I built this awesome multi-purpose shelf with a removable tray on the top. Enjoy!
1, 2, 3, come on!
For the base of this project, I decided to use select pine 2x2s, and I started by cutting out all of the pieces that I needed to make the base part of my cart. That included the 4 legs, the long stretchers, and the short stretchers. Alright, so this is what I have got. I have got my 4 legs that are cut at 34.5 inches. I have 6 of these stretchers. They're each cut at 32 inches. And then the 6 pieces over here are cut at 15 inches. I decided to use pocket holes for the joinery method of the base of this table. You could also screw them together from the outside if you don't have a pocket hole jig. You'll notice as I put this together that I put the pocket holes in a position where they would be less visible to the eye. So the stretcher across the top is going to be covered by the tabletop, so I had them facing upward, and the 2 lower ones are acting as the shelf supports for my shelves, and those pocket holes are faced downward so that they're not visible. I also clamped the corners and put in like an extra piece of board between there so that I'm not leaving an indentation in my wood. And then I also used spacers and I transfer them from one side to the other side so that I can make sure that each side is spaced equally. With both sides now put together, it was time to put the long stretchers on. Using the short stretchers of the side of the base as reference, I went ahead and screwed in the long stretchers to the second side of the table. So this next part, you can either use your leftover 2x2s and rip them down on the saw. If you don't have that capability, you can buy these square dowels at your big box store. And from that point, I just glued and nailed them to the perimeter, around the perimeter of my shelves so that I would have a spot for my shelves to sit on. This was the last part of putting together my base, and then I moved on to making the tray that would sit on top of the shelf. I did this with 1x4s and I cut the 2 long sides and short sides together. And then after that, I needed to cut out the plywood that would sit on the bottom. You can have these cut out from the big box store, or you can use something just like a jigsaw like I did. And this is what you'll end up with. I attached all the sides to the piece of plywood by pre-drilling all of my holes and making sure to glue and screw them all together. And I decided to stick with black screws to kind of go along with that industrial modern look that I was going for. Now it's time to make the tray removable, and I did this by setting up a stop block on my chop saw and grabbing a dowel and making sure to cut 5 equal pieces off of my dowel that would match the same width or depth of the Forstner bit. I then took the Forstner bit and I went and made 6 different holes, putting those pieces in to make sure that they would fit. And I did 6 of them all around the top of the shelf. And then I glued the tray on top of those dowels so that they would be stuck. And that way, when the tray was sitting on top, it wouldn't be able to fall off. As for the bottom shelves, you can obviously cut whole pieces of plywood to fit those spaces. I, however, just had scrap wood lying around, so I decided to use my biscuit jointer to join those pieces together and trim them down to fit into those shelf spaces. At this point, everything was built and all I needed to do was give everything a good sand. And then I did 2 coats of black paint on the base of the shelf and left the shelves and the tray a natural pine color. I just happen to like this. I feel like it's modern and sleek and it kind of goes along with the decor in my house. I wanted to add an extra design feature on the bottom shelf, so I grabbed a 3/4 inch MDF board and used it as a spacer, and I cut some flat trim pieces down so that they would go from the middle of one 2x2 to the middle of the other 2x2, and you'll be able to see what I mean in the video. I did make sure where I wasn't able to glue or have that extra support, I made sure to angle my nails in opposite directions so that it would be a little more difficult for those to come apart. But I used that spacer and I followed this all the way around the edges to create kind of this caged basket crate look, I guess. And here it is all finished with a couple coats of polyurethane to protect the layers. This would be a perfect shelf to go outside on your patio and use it like I did, or you could put it in your kitchen as a coffee cart or a breakfast bar. You could also put it in your office or craft room. It really has a lot of functions and I really like how it turned out. So hopefully you guys like it too. If you would like, go ahead and subscribe, comment. I appreciate all the support. And until next time. For those who are interested, here is the list of materials that I used and the cost of this project.